They say the water remembers, but in 1803, just off the coast of St. Simon's Island in Georgia, the water became a witness to a tragic event. For over 2 centuries, the story was whispered, a myth passed down by the Gula Geechee people. The story of the Africans who looked at the chains of slavery, looked at the uncertainty of a new world, and made a choice that would echo for generations. They didn't fight with guns, they didn't run into the woods, they turned into the water. Welcome back to Afriwood. Today's movie discourse is about history and resurrection. Ramsey Nouah and Play Network Studios have just dropped the first official look at Igbo landing. For years, we've seen Nollywood try to do epic. We've seen Jagu Jagu, we've seen The Woman King from Hollywood. But this one we are sure will be one for the books. And if this poster is anything to go by, Ramsey Nouah is not here to play. Let's get into it. Before we dissect the film, you have to understand the weight of what you're about to watch. And we'll give a little history lesson. In May 1803, a ship called the York was carrying about 75 enslaved Igbo people. They have been bought for about $100 a head, roughly the price of a decent mobile phone today. But these slaves were warriors, titled men and spiritual leaders. So when the ship docked in Dunbar Creek, they didn't wait to be unloaded. They rose up, rebelled, and eventually drowned their captors. And here is where history stopped being a textbook and started being a legend, because they were stranded and had no ship to sail back to Nigeria. They were surrounded by water on one side and slave master on the other, a typical stuck between a rock and a hard place scenario. So their high chief priest decided to sing and chant in Igbo. The water spirit brought us. The water spirit will take us home. Together, and with their chains, they march into the creek, choosing death over slavery. And this is the moment Ramsey Nouah is recreating. Think about the pressure. How do you film an act of resistance and frame it as a victory? How do you show 75 people walking into their death not as victims, but as conquerors? That is the cinematic challenge of the decade. Now you've learned a bit of history, so let's talk about the man behind the camera. Ramsey Nouah. He started as the lover boy of Nollywood, but look at his trajectory since living in bondage and breaking free. He is obsessed over legacy and restoration even. He took the old Nollywood classic and polished them for a new generation. But Igbo Landing isn't a remake of an old movie, it's a remake of history. We know Play Network Studio, Charles Okpaleke loves the gloss, he loves the aesthetics. But Rattlesnake was stylish and living in bondage was sleek. Igbo Landing needs to be grit, it needs to be dirty, it needs to feel like salt water and blood. But the question is, can Ramsey strip away the Nollywood gloss to give us the raw ugly truth of 1803? The story has been referenced before. Beyonce paid homage to it in Lemonade. In Black Panther, Killmonger's famous last line, "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestor who knew death was better than bondage." That is a direct reference to Igbo Landing. But Hollywood always reference it as a footnote, a metaphor. They have never given us the full story. Why? Because it is a hard sell. A movie where the hero dies in the first act. A movie about suicide. Hollywood studios might look at that and see a box office risk. Plus, it's our story to tell and it's time we actually tell it. The Woman King was great, but it was Nollywood-sized. They had to give us a happy ending. They had to sanitize the history to make it palatable for Western audiences. Nollywood doesn't have to do that. Ramsey Nouah has the home court advantage. It doesn't have to explain what an Igbo is to us. It doesn't have to water down the spirituality. It needs to be a film that says we will tell our own pain in our own language. The stakes are terrifyingly high, and there already is a mountain load of expectation. The biggest here, language. The Igbos of 1803 likely didn't speak English at all. If Ramsey makes this movie in 80% English, he fails. If the accent sounds like Lagos Igbo, he fails. The authenticity of the costume, the chants, and the dialects will make or break this film. We saw what happened with movies that didn't research the culture deep enough. The audience will roast you alive. Also, There is the spiritual aspect. Shooting a movie about a mass suicide of ancestors that is heavy energy. There are stories from the set of Black Panthers and Amistad about strange occurrence when dealing with slave narrative. Ramsey is walking into a spiritual minefield. Will the film treat the water spirit as a special effect or as a reality? In Nollywood, we often overuse CGI, but for Igbo landing, we don't need green screens. We need raw emotions. We need to feel the coldness of the water. 2026 is shaping us to be a great year for Nollywood. With the Igbo landing set to premiere later this year, this movie release feels like a memorial service. If Ramsey Nouah pulled this off, he doesn't just win an AMVCA, he cements himself as the guardian of our history. The legend says the African didn't drown. It says they grew wings and flew back to Africa. Maybe this movie is their flight home. I want to know what you think. Is Nollywood ready for a tragedy this deep? Can Ramsey Nouah handle the weight of this story? And most importantly, will you be watching? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is a conversation we need to have. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on notification. The review for this one is going to be historic.